Hi everyone, I am Agam from Tensorfuse, and today we will see how you can build AI agents with self-hosted models on AWS. And we will use Tensorfuse and crewai for this. So crewai is a popular Python-based framework for building AI agents, and Tensorfuse helps you run serverless GPUs on your own AWS account, so you can host various open source models on your own AWS. The first step is to create a Tensorkube cluster on your AWS account. It's a very easy process. And all you need to do is configure your AWS credentials using the AWS CLI and just run a simple command, Tensorkube configure. You can follow our getting started guide for the exact process. This is a one-time setup, and this will create an EKS cluster, which is highly optimized for running AI inference on your AWS. It will take around 20 minutes. I have already done it. And if you see on my AWS console, you can see there are two M5 machines that are running, and this is essentially my Tensorkube EKS cluster. Once we have this set up, then we will move on to how we can use these models in our crewai agents. So crewai has this section called LLM if you go to their documentation. And in this, they have first-class support for various model providers like OpenAI, Anthropic, and if you have hosted models on llama, etc. But if I have hosted my models locally using EKS, there is no direct support for it, but they do have support for Light LLM, which is an LLM gateway through which we can import our OpenAI compatible SDKs. And which is what we will see in this tutorial, as in how we can do it. So the first step is to host the model, and for this tutorial we will be hosting a Deepseek 8B model and 7B model. And we have a complete guide for this in our Tensorfuse documentation. So let me switch over to my code editor. And to deploy any model using Tensorfuse, all you need is two things. One is your Docker file, and in this tutorial we will use a vLLM Docker image along with some other configurable parameters like the token length and the port which we want to expose, and your deployment.yaml file. Now this is the deployment configurations that we will use. So here you can define the type of GPUs, the number of GPUs, along with a bunch of your secrets and API keys. Now once we have these two things ready, we will navigate to the folder where we have these files and simply run the command tensorkube deploy. And we will attach the config file and hit enter. Now what this will do is this will start the deployment. This will take some time, but in the meantime, I have already deployed a 7B model and we can access our endpoint by running this command. So you see I have a bunch of deployments here and this is the API endpoint for the 7B model, which is already deployed. So the next step is to use the model into our crew agents, and for that we will need to install crewai and also create our crewai agents. So for that, if I go to the documentation, then you can follow the installation guide to install crewai locally. And once you have installed it, and you can just run these commands to create whatever agents you want. And if I just scroll down, this is the folder structure that you will get. So agents.yaml is where you can define what all agents you want to build. Task.yaml is where you define the task that your agent does. And there are a bunch of other stuff like main.py file is the entry point for our agents, and crew.py is where we write define custom LLMs and write other code. So I have already done that. So let me just go to my crew agents. So this is where I've installed crewai, and this is a test agent that we are building. And my agent is, I have built two agents. One is a senior data researchers, and I can give it a topic and it will research about the topic. And then the second is reporting analyst, which based on the research that is done above, it will create a report for us. And this is the task that I've defined for each agent. And now coming to the main part, which is like, how do I use the model? If we were to use any other model provider which are listed by crewai, we could just define our API keys in the N file. But in this case, since we are building a custom LLM, what we have to do it in crew.py file, we have to invoke this function LLM, and we have to pass our model name, our base URL, which we'll get from Tensorkube list deployment. So this is the same URL as shown here, the llama 7B one, and our API key. So this is the API key which I have set when I deployed using Tensorfuse. And one key thing to note here is that this is compatible with Light LLM, and in Light LLM they support OpenAI compatible endpoints, but you have to add OpenAI prefix before every model name. So let's say if I go to our guide for this Deepseek model, we have different versions of models like 7B, 8B, but this is the model name that we are using, but I have to add OpenAI prefix here because of the Light LLM requirements, and it will know that this is an OpenAI compatible endpoint. So I just need to define this custom LLM, and now when I'm running these agents, what I have to do is I have to use, so I can define whatever tools I want to use, and then I can define in terms of LLM, I can define custom LLMs. This will tell the crew package to use the custom LLMs. And similarly, we can define for our researcher agent and then also for our reporting analyst agent. We can use different LLMs for different agents as well, but I'm going to use the same one. And that's it. Once we have done that, we are ready to run our multi-agent framework, and all you have to do is crew AI run. And once you run this, it will start running, and it will show us the results in some time. So as you can see, our task is completed. Both of our tasks are completed, so it has done a lot of research. So this one is our reporting analyst, and the above task is our researcher task. So both our tasks are completed, and this is how you can use a self-hosted model on your AWS into Crew AI for building multiple agents. And if you have any doubts, feel free to join our Slack community, Tensorfuse Slack community. I will post the link into the description. And good luck with building agents.